All right, welcome everyone. Today our author is Karla. Welcome and nice to have you here, Karla.
Thank you so much for having me. Really
Yeah, so
appreciate.
can you start out by telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey as an author?
I love writing. Actually, it's something that I found out later in my life that I like to share some of my experiences and empowering people to, transform their lives. So my goal while I'm writing is really to educate, to empower, and, help, by sharing a little bit of what I've been through.
Awesome. So what inspired you to write your story and revitalize for the soul? And what was there a defining moment or event that sparked your idea?
Definitely. The challenges and struggles, especially with mental health that I faced in my family, in my husband's family, and I think it's so important for us to be vulnerable and really share, and especially what we can learn from it. Um, and I thought it was a very important, it was very difficult, but very important part of my life that made me realize the importance of being vulnerable and, sharing those moments with my family and with other people. I think it would be um, very empowering, to say the least, I would say.
Yeah, so what's the central theme or message of your chapter and why is it important to you?
The central theme is still mental health. It's a taboo, and I think we take really for granted the real meaning of being mentally strong. And now with social media, we have this idea of being fake or being happy all the time. Sorry, of being happy all the time. So I think it's really important to embrace the feelings. Um, and on my chapter specifically, I'm going to show this dichotomy of happy and sad and how we express our struggles or how we don't express our struggles really resonate on how we're going to lead our adulthood. So it's basically comparing two different families and how they struggle and how they handle their struggle in different, very different ways. And both of them really suffer mentally and physically. And my goal is really to show the beauty of being happy and being sad and being angry and just embracing all the feelings. And that there is no such a thing as negative feelings. It's all feelings are messengers, and we need to take time to listen to them, to embrace them, because they really make us more powerful. Um, so I think that's basically the message, just being vulnerable and being really in tune with what we're feeling, regardless of the situation.
Yeah, I love that. So I've been in the industry for over 30 years and I call myself, I built a tin man around me because I've been taught to do that. And so I've been slowly for the last couple of years since I'm now moving into this entrepreneur world, removing those layers, the onion layers. And I think one of the things you said, which was really potent, is that um, recognizing that the feeling is a message because then you can do something with it. So then, and I love that you are coaching people and teaching people how to do that. Because sometimes we get in the feeling of maybe the depth of despair or the anger that comes up, and we sit in the feeling rather than realizing it's just something, a message, right? And then catching it and being able to step into it with resilience and being very persistent about stepping into the small steps. It's not a big step. It's not the big steps jumping into. It's getting out of that dark hole or the feeling of whatever that is and maybe you're grabbing at straws to get there, but you're moving forward. So I love that. So here's a good one for you because this one I know that you actually actively participated in doing this, and some of the writers, um, really don't get this. Like people, and when they do nonfiction, we don't get this question. So I'm going to ask you, and I know it's going to land really well with you because you applied this in a different practice. I loved how you did it. So how did you develop the characters in your storyline? And did any part of the chapter surprise you as you wrote it?
Oh, yes, definitely. It was a journey for me. It was a beautiful journey. Um, because I talked and I conversed with my family members, my husband, my daughters, to really understand the complexity of what I've been going through or what I went through. And it's very incorporating different perspectives, um, really made my story stronger, and it was very empowering to me to really understand the different perspectives and how we take that for granted. And by writing, I had the opportunity to interview, not a formal interview, but just to talk to my family members and understand how that experience shaped themselves and how they saw me through those experiences. And it was kind of a therapy moment for all of us, and really understanding the power and talking about the experience and how different perspectives really shaped us. And I think the story at the end, the story was beautiful. It really resonates, and it really empowered and transformed our family and how we talk about even mental health and our struggles and our feelings, and how we were able to understand that experience and the messages, the feelings that we were all experiencing during that time and even today, because, we still have the memories and everything. So it was so wonderful. And I'm so grateful for you and with all your help to let me embrace that and be able to do that beautifully. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And writing can be very therapeutic, as you know. And are you going to use it as a tool? Yeah, I figured. So here's the thing with that. One, you wrote in more three-dimensional, which I love, and it can be four or five-dimensional, which is really a very it's more of an in-depth way of writing. I love that you learned that. And I love all the pictures in the back of your screen because you actually are getting into kids' books and other things. I know that. And I love that help, in that experience, your family members that got involved in it were able to see you differently and you were able to see them differently, which is really the point, right? It's really that therapy and the way we are connected, interconnected with our different truths because everyone has different truths, right? So tell
Yes,
me,
and that was beautiful.
is there a particular scene or chapter in the story that resonates with you?
Definitely. I think the moment that I received the phone call, it's definitely the strongest part of the story. And that moment, I, as I was talking to my family members and especially my husband, because he was the one who called me, it really, understanding, because I've never had the opportunity to talk to him about his feeling during that time, which was very quick at the moment. And at the same time, you just don't think too much about it. It's kind of a blur, you don't even quite remember.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it was very powerful. I had a hard time really, how can I write in a way that people really understand how strong, how powerful, how meaningful the pain, the anger, the sadness. There's so many different feelings with that in that moment.
Yeah,
How can you express that into a writing,
right.
piece?
Yeah, and the more
It
concrete
was
as we
hard.
learned, right? And part of the revitalize for the soul process was that you got to participate in weekly group trainings on working through that with me. And that really was a framework only. It was the program that got you moving through that. And it's really when a person writes, it's not about creating these flowery words. It's about getting to the grounding of one word that's powerful, right? And I know that what you're saying in that, you know, bringing it's almost like you're bringing the past to the future or to the current present in your writing. And then when I did the same thing you did several years ago when I was starting to do some of this, rediscovering stories that I had, right? I didn't even know that I didn't know how I felt. It kind of sounds weird, but coming back to that and trying to hit that one experience, like you said, and not even knowing how your spouse was reacting to it. It's like, where were you? Where were you? Right? In me, like, where was I when I was actually experiencing that? And many times I had to dig deep because I put it down, stuffed it down somewhere. And when you talk about feelings, it's so important to be able to identify because that you did stuff them down and that you aren't feeling anymore. I have put that armor on, so that's why I say that, right? So tell me what challenges that you faced during the writing process and how did you overcome them?
The first challenge is, and I think you notice, is how can I express the pain, the feelings, in a way that it's accurate and powerful at the same time. Like playing with the words. Words are like instruments when we're writing, right? What type of, how do I want my readers to feel when they're reading the story? Um, at the same time, I was discovering myself how I was really feeling because again, I was raised in a family that I was not allowed per se to feel all my feelings, right?
Mhm.
And at that time, I was pretty young when that happened. I think I'm sure I did not feel all my feelings. And as I was writing, I was rediscovering, I was going back to my past and I was allowing myself to really feel those feelings. So it was kind of an interesting path because I wanted my reader to feel the feelings that somehow at the first time I was writing, didn't know what I was really feeling, right? Because it
Mhm.
was fast, it was transformational, and again, that's why it was so therapeutical to write because I was able to go back and reflect and embrace the feelings and understand. And by doing that, hopefully, my readers are going to be able to feel, how intense my feelings were
Yeah,
during
and
that
and
time.
so many times we step over our feelings. So I love that you just shared that analogy because that is so very true. So, we're going to get some feedback. We're going to ask each of you since the Kindle version is out today and it's a reduced price right now as a pre-release for 99 cents. We're going to encourage each of you to download it on Amazon and give us feedback. And so, Karla, I want to know from you, how do you handle feedback and criticism about your work since we'll be getting some feedback out there? Um, and they might your truth might not be heard or understood.
Exactly, right? I love to, at the same time, mixed feelings about feedbacks and criticism because it's good and bad. You have to, and it's a moment, those are the moments that you have to embrace, understand, take it some time to embrace the feedback and move on and become a better writer. So I love getting feedbacks, and I think that's how we become a better version of ourselves, and mistakes are to celebrate, and it's a process. Writing is a process, and we are never, um, getting to the perfection. We're always growing, and that's the beauty of being a writer, always getting better.
Yeah. So
The
how
readers.
yeah, I love that. So you kind of explained a little bit about that, but how has your writing for this chapter that you wrote in Revitalize for the Soul changed or influenced you personally?
Oh, a lot. It really changed me a lot. I mean, with all your uh, coaching and feedback, and it made me. I've never had a person like you when I was writing to give give me this personal feedback and embracing and understanding how we can evolve. Uh, so I think my growth during this period was enormous, was amazing. I'm much more aware of the you know, how to use words, how to choose words, or even the importance of talking to other people, letting other people read before, it's a process, and I think it's beautiful. And I think the more we involved our partners, families, even my kids, they loved being part of that process. And I've never thought I could even use my kids, my younger kids to read and provide me with so many wonderful feedbacks.
Yeah.
It's,
And what
it's,
an
it was
inspiration you are for
beautiful.
your kids, right? Because they might blossom as writers as well, or just from seeing the whole process, right? Or seeing you differently, seeing mom as a different person now. But so what advice would you give to aspiring authors or those considering to write their first book?
Just start, writing, just put it on a paper. It's so powerful when another person reads what you have to write and the messages you have to send to other people. I think it's empowering. I really love when people read and say, okay, thank you so much for sharing that. It really resonates with me or whatever I'm going through. As a psychologist myself, I think through writing and through just expressing or just putting on a paper experiences, ups and downs, it's very empowering. So just start putting things on a paper. Don't worry about if it's grammatically correct or if you're using the right words. It's going to change. It's going to become a beautiful, beautiful piece of art. And it just starts. Don't be scared. People will want to read it
Yeah.
regardless.
I love that. So this is the first volume, as we know, and it's out, a Kindle version's out today, and then in, a few weeks we'll have the paperback. And right now we're going to kick off the new volume two, Revitalize for Your Soul, and bring in another 20 authors. So anyone interested in aspiring authors, interested in collaborating, or authors that are already authors, feel free to reach out. Go out to my website, kimgroshek.com. I'd love to have you because this is such a wonderful experience. So I'd like to ask you, and the final question, is there a final message that you'd like to share with our readers and audience today?
Oh yes. So first of all, get the Kindle version. There's so many inspiring stories, and I think through that you're gonna get inspired to write your own story. And if you do, I would highly recommend joining. You know, Kim, to do that. And it's a wonderful experience. I highly, highly recommend. I'm so honored to be part of this first book and just enjoy the stories, enjoy all the different ups and downs and experiences that many different authors shared with you guys.
I love that. Yeah, it was a great collaboration. And Karla, look forward to seeing what everyone has to read about in yours and give you some feedback. But I also encourage everyone to get the book so you can read Karla's wonderful story. It is very impactful, and I think you will be very grateful to have gotten it and read it. So thank you so much for putting out in the world, Karla. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you and have a beautiful day.